Hello students, welcome to the next lecture of intermediate code generation. In this chapter we are going to understand the intermediate codes which are generated after the semantic analysis, what kind of representations they follow. So this intermediate code generator, it is the interface between the front end and the back end of the compiler. Ideally, the details of the source language, they are confined to the front end, and the details of the target machines, they are at the back end. In the analysis synthesis model of a compiler, the front end translates a source program into an intermediate representation from which the backend generates the target language. This chapter will show us how the syntax-directed methods can be used to translate into an intermediate form from our programming language constructs. When a C program is written, the compiler will generate some intermediate code for that particular C program. Although a source program can be translated directly into the target language, there are some benefits of using machine independent intermediate form. Okay, so the benefits we'll go see in the next slide. From the figure you can see that after the parser we have the static checker, the type checker, then comes our intermediate code generator, and we get the intermediate code which is generated by this phase, which goes into our code generator, which comprises our backend. The benefits which are obtained by using this machine independent intermediate form are that the retargeting is facilitated, means that a compiler for a different machine can be created by attaching the backend to the new machine, for the new machine to the existing front end. The front end remains the same for the compiler, only the backends are changing. Okay, so the analysis synthesis model, the front end, the backend, when we design a compiler for some particular language, be it for Java or for C, the front end necessarily remains the same, only the backend keeps on changing. Machine independent code optimizer can be applied to the intermediate generation. So the machine independent code optimizer which can be applied to the intermediate code representation. This in machine independent code optimizer, or the code optimization phase, comes after the intermediate code generation. The code optimizer takes the input of the intermediate code and it optimizes the intermediate code. This first, the C program is, or the source program is supplied to the compiler. The compiler translates that C program into intermediate code, and the intermediate code is optimized by the code optimizer in the next phase of the intermediate code generation. There are different kinds of intermediate representation. First is the syntax tree, second we have postfix notation, and third we have the tree address code. The semantic rules for the generation of tree address code from common programming language constructs are similar to those for constructing syntax trees or for generating postfix notations. So we will look into the details, what is intermediate representation as syntax tree or postfix notation or tree address code. They are very simple. I hope you will understand. So first let us look what is meant by syntax tree. The syntax tree depicts the natural hierarchical structure of a particular source program. Okay, so over here you see we draw a tree based on this statement: A is equal to B into minus C plus B into minus C. So for this particular high level language programming construct, we are getting one intermediate representation which is known as the syntax tree. How the syntax tree is depicted? It is depicted in the form of a tree where the tree consists of certain nodes and certain edges. So the vertices, or the vertices can be of two types: interior vertices and the leaf nodes, right? So in the leaf nodes we can see we have the operands, or where the operands over here, what for the particular statement is A, B and C. So the operands comprise the leaf nodes and the operators are in the intermediate portions or the interior nodes. So for this particular statement, A is equal to B into minus C plus B into minus C, we see that this A is equal to means always a sign. So a sign is our, you could write over here equal to also, but over here for your better understanding I have written a sign, and over here it is U minus, means unary minus. So B into minus C, okay. So that is why minus C, C is the opcode. So sorry, C is the operand. So C is our leaf node. So the operator which is just before C is applied to our this interior node. So minus C, B into minus C, B into minus C. So B into minus C, B into minus C, that these two things over this one. Okay, so B into minus C, okay, B into minus C. So this portions, these two portions, B into minus C, B into minus C are both added by another node, which is another interior node. So the portion after the assignment is done, means B into minus C plus B into minus C. This portion is the thing. The syntax trees, this portion is representing this B into minus C plus B into minus C. Then comes our assign, this equal to operator. Another interior node is taken for this assign. Now we are going to make another child for this particular node and keep it as the leaf node. So A is equal to B into minus C plus B into minus C. Okay. So the syntax tree, if a particular statement is given to you, if you are told to draw the syntax tree, then it will be very easy for you to draw. So this is one particular graphical representation for representing your intermediate code of compiler. Okay. So next we move on to another representation, which is the directed acyclic graph or DAG. So it is sometimes beneficial to create a DAG instead of a syntax tree for expressions, because in DAG the common sub-expressions are eliminated and we are doing it like that of a syntax tree for an expression, but the DAG has leaves corresponding to the operands and interior nodes corresponding to the operators. But the difference is that a node n in a DAG has more than one parent n if n represents a common sub-expression. So in the previous example, you can see over here we have a common sub-expression which is b into minus c, which is repeated 2 times. Okay. So over here in case of syntax tree, we have taken 2 different nodes for b, 2 different nodes for c, 2 different nodes for u minus, 2 different nodes for star, right? But in case of DAG, what we will do, as this is a common sub-expression, we will try to reduce the number of nodes and keep it as simple as possible in order to make it more in optimized form. So the difference between syntax tree and DAG is, in syntax tree we did not do any reduction for this common sub-expressions, but in case of DAG we are going to reduce it. Okay. So for that particular statement, same statement, the DAG for this statement will be as such. See over here, I told previously that for B in previous syntax tree there were 2 nodes. Over here in case of DAG we have 1 node. In case of B as well as U minus as well as C and for star. So B into minus C plus B into minus C. See over here, 2 nodes, 2 edges are given, one for this B into minus C plus B into minus C. So this full expression is represented by this portion of our directed acyclic graph. Okay. So you find it beneficial to create a DAG instead of a tree for expressions like this where we have some common sub-expressions. So this DAG for each, if any other DAG is given to you, I think it will be very easy. Just you have to identify which are the common sub-expressions. Then you will be doing only one node for that particular expression. Okay, need not repeat it. Okay, I'll give you one more example. See over here, for this particular example, you see a plus a into B minus C plus B minus C into D. So you can see over here what is the common sub-expression? B minus C. So B minus C need not be this B minus C. 2 times we need not do it. In case of syntax tree we would do 2 times, but in case of DAG we will do only 1 time. So B minus C, so for this portion A into B minus C, A into B minus C, A into B minus C. For this portion B minus C into D. Now we have A 2 times, but we will take only one node for A. So that is why A has one more edge, this one. For this A plus, so A plus A into B minus C. Okay, so instead of doing one more node for A, we are just connecting this particular vertex to another vertex by a simple one more edge. So a particular node can be this particular, in the previous what I told, that the difference is a node n in a DAG has more than one parent if n represents a common sub-expression. So a particular node, this particular node C over here, this particular node, this parent can be star or the parent can be plus. So as A is a common sub-expression, it can have two different parents. Okay, so that is why the syntax trees are more illustrative and the DAGs are more compact examples of our intermediate representation. Okay, in exams questions may come, you may be given an expression and you may be told to construct a syntax tree or a DAG. Okay, one more example, over here you see I is equal to I plus 10 or I equal to, this is our one node, you have a common expression which is I is repeated 2 times, so only one node for I. Okay, and over here I plus 10, I equal to I plus 10. So you could write, in case of syntax tree, one more node would be created for I, but instead of that we just joined this node with the already created node for this I plus 10 and we have done our DAG. Okay, so the next type of representation of our intermediate form is postfix notation. You are already familiar what is postfix, prefix. Okay, so in postfix the operators are always written at the end and the operands are written at the beginning. Okay, so what is the postfix notation for A plus B? It is AB plus. Similarly, if we see in case of this particular statement, this particular previous example statement, the postfix notation for this particular statement will be this. Okay, so B C U minus star, B C U minus star, this A comes at the beginning and this assign goes at the end. So the postfix notation is a linearized representation of the syntax tree and it is the list of nodes of the tree in which a node appears immediately after its children. Okay, so it's a very simple type of representation. So the first representation was syntax tree. The another form of representation you can consider as DAG. The next type of representation is our postfix notation. The next type of representation is our 3-address code. In our 3-address code, we see that there is at most one operator at the right side of an instruction, and 3-address code is a sequence of statements of the general form x is equal to y op z, where x and y and z are names or constants or some compiler generated temporaries, whereas the op represents our operator. Okay, so we have given one example. You can see one example. Suppose this is our code, this is our expression for which we want to generate our 3-address statement. So what will be those 3-address statements like? So we will consider some temporary variables. Over here, many temporary variables will come into play. The role is for temporary variables is to store the intermediate value. So y into z, t1. So how many addresses are passed at most? T1, y and z. So 3 address code. So address of t1, address of y and address of z. So it is always maximum of the form like this, x is equal to y of z. So Over here T1 is equal to y into z. Next, this y into z is already stored in T1. You have to just add it with x. So T2 is equal to x plus T1. Okay, so we get the 3 address code for this expression, x plus y into z. It's very simple. I guess you can understand it very clearly. Okay, let's continue. So one more example of our 3 address code. For the previous example, for this example, I had shown you the DAG. So this was the particular DAG. For this particular example, what will be the 3 address code? So the 3 address code will be as such. For this B in minus C, see over here, if we consider the DAG as the corresponding representation, what will be this 3 address code? So B minus C is evaluated over here only one time. Okay, you could do a syntax tree also, you could do a DAG also. For that syntax tree, you would get a 3 address code where B minus C would be stored in 2 different variables. So you can, your 3 address code may be means as you like, but the statements, in each statement it should be of the form x is equal to y of z, and each statement should contain at maximum 3 addresses. Okay, so T1 is equal to B minus C. We are storing the value of B minus C in our intermediate or temporary variable, which is T1. Now for this A into B minus C, we are multiplying A into T1 and storing it in our T2. Okay, next we are doing A plus this. So A into T1 is stored in T2. So this whole thing A into A plus A into B minus C, this thing A plus T2. Okay. Next part, this T1 is already containing B minus C. So this for B minus C into D, we are getting one more variable, temporary variable, which is T4. We are storing the product of T1 and D in T4, and then we are adding this T3 and T4, and we are getting the result in T5. Okay, so if we are given one example, if you are given in the question for this particular statement, generate the 3 address code, you can write the 3 address code like this. Okay, moving on to the next example, what are the forms of 3 address statements? Okay, in our C language, if you consider, you can see that there are several types of statements. There are several copy statements, assignment instructions, jump statements, indexed statements, address and pointer assignments. So what kind of form the 3 address statements will take in case of our different kinds of statements in our programming language? For assignment statement, it will be something like this: x is equal to y of z. For only assignment instruction, it will be x is equal to op y, means like minus c. So something minus, like it was b into minus c. So b into minus c. So for minus c, we will write u minus c. T1 is equal to u minus c. Okay, so that is why x is equal to op y. Copy statements, just simple x is equal to y. For unconditional jump, just you can write go to L. For conditional jumps, you have to write if x reloop means relational operator, y go to L, where reloop is our relational operator. This is our condition, if x reloop y, and if this condition is satisfied, then go to L. For different procedure calls, parameters are there. So the parameters may be called as param x1, x2, x3, many things can be done, x1, x2 up to xn. Now call p comma n, where this p is our procedure, and if there is a return value for a particular function call, we can write it like this: y is equal to call p comma n. Okay. In case of indexed assignments of the form, we can array form, we can write it like this: x is equal to yi and xi is equal to y. In case of address and pointer assignments, it can be of the form x is equal to ampersand y and x is equal to star y and x star x is equal to y. This kind of statements can be written in our 3 address code. Okay. So let us look into one example. Suppose we have the statements do I is equal to I plus 1 while ai less than v. So for this particular statements, what will be our 3 address code? Once a 3 address code I have shown with labels. Label means only one, this for this go to statement, a label is required, because where this, if T3 is less than V, where it will go. So we have labeled the first statement, do I is equal to I plus 1. So the value of I plus 1 is stored in one temporary variable, and we are updating the value of I. I is made to store the value of I plus 1 by assigning this I plus 1. So temporary variable is used. Then the tree address code for determining the value of AI is assuming that each array element takes 4 bytes. So that is why T2 is computing the value of the tree address code of AI, where we have taken an integer variable, suppose takes 4 bytes. So T2 is equal to I into 4. So this, for particular computing this value of AI, we are considering this first T2, we are computing the value of T2, then we are assigning it in an array, and then we are adding the tree address code where T3 is equal to AT2. Now, if this T3, if AT2 means AT2, the value of AT2 is being stored in T3. If that value of T3 is less than V, while AI is less than V, then only we will go to L. Otherwise, we will not go to L. Okay. So if means while this while loop is written like this. If T3 is less than V, then go to L. But this is what tree address code with labels, and this is our tree address code with position numbers. See over here, we have the position numbers given. So the mainly the line numbers you can see. The code is same, only go to 100 is written. In case of this, it was go to L. So the label was L given in the first. In case of this, it is written go to 100. Okay. One more example for tree address code. You see the previous example is only given over here. This is the example which was shown for syntax tree and for DAG in the previous slides. A is equal to B into minus C plus B into minus C. So if you try to write the tree address code for this particular example using syntax tree, it will be something like this, and in case of DAG it will be something like this. Why the difference? Because you see, in case of DAG we have only one node for C, one node for B, and in case of syntax tree we have two different nodes for B, two different nodes for C. So that is why T1 is storing the value of minus C, T2 is doing the computation B into T1. Again T3 is storing the value of minus C, and again T4 is doing the same thing as T2 was doing. So this part is redundant, still it is done for syntax tree, and this is of no harm, only the code length increases. And this is a very compact form. Over here you can see that only one time the value of minus C is computed and stored in T1, whereas this T2 is added twice with each other. So basically the generation of the codes may look different, but the results are same. So the tree address statements are implemented in different forms. It is an abstract form of intermediate code. So in compiler, these statements can be implemented as records with fields for the operator as well as the operands. There are three different representations for these kind of tree address statements. The first is quadruples, the second is triples, and the third is the indirect triples. So what are these type of representations? So let us have a look. What is quadruple? Quadruple is a record structure with 4 different fields, which is op means the operator, argument 1, argument 2, and the result. Okay. Okay. Triples are where temporaries are not used and instead references to instructions are made. Okay. And the indirect triples are, in addition to triples, we use a list of pointers to triples. Sorry, over here this A and Y are arguments. So over here it will be arg1 and arg2 instead of A and Y. Please consider this as a mistake. Please correct it for your reading purpose. Okay. So we will take one example and explain what are these three different type of representations for tree address code. So if we take this particular example, this B into minus C plus B into minus C. For this particular, A is equal to B into minus C plus B into minus C. So for this particular example, what will be our tree address code? Explained previously, if we consider the tree address code for syntax tree, what will be our quadruple? So our quadruple consists of 4 fields. Quad means 4, so it will consist of 4 fields: operator, argument 1, argument 2, and result. So in the first statement, you see what is our operator? It is U minus. So operator comes in U minus. Argument 1, only one argument is there. So argument 2 will be blank, argument 1 will be C, and result will be stored in T1. Next statement is T2 is equal to B into T1. So the two arguments are B and T1. So B and T1, operator is star, result is T2. Similarly for T3 also we have this thing. for T4, where T4 is equal to B into T3. We have the argument 1 and argument 2 as B and T3, and the result is stored in temporary variable T4. Okay. So the next statement, which is very easy, I hope you can understand. Operator is plus, argument 1 is T2, argument 2 is T4, and the result is stored in T5. Last statement, we have only one argument, so that is why argument 2 is blank. We have the operator equal to, the result is stored in A, and the argument 1 is T5. Okay, so in case of quadruples, we have 4 fields: operator, argument 1, argument 2, and result. In case of triples, we have 3 fields, as from the name it implies. So what are stored in these kind of 3 fields? The result field is not present in case of triples. How the results are stored? We are just using, see over here in the definition as written, references to temp instructions are made, means the addresses of the storage of those results are stored in case of triples. The temporary variables are not used. So in case of this quadruples, we have used our temporary variables, but in case of triples, we have the references to our instructions, like minus C is stored in T1. Suppose this particular minus C is stored in address 0. So we are using this 0 as the 0th location as our argument 2. In case of T1, we are referring to T1 as 0. So that is why in case of the second statement, this B into T1, we instead of writing T1, we are writing, in case of argument 2, we are writing 0 in case of this second statement. And this second statement itself, this variable T2, it was storing the result in T2 previously, but over here we are storing it in 1. So similarly for the second, this third statement, this also same. See over here T2 plus T4, so T2 is being stored in our this 1 location, and T4 is being stored in this third location. So in this statement you can see the T5 is equal to T2 plus T4. We are just taking the argument 1 as the reference to our instruction, which is storing T2, and reference to our instruction, which is storing our T4. So that is why 1 and 3 in case of argument 1, argument 2, and the operator is same as previous, so it is plus. And in over here you see that A is equal to T5. So T5 is being stored in 4. The reference to T5 is 4. So that is why T5 means 4. So that is why A is equal to T5 means 4. So over here one extra column which was being stored in quadruples is eliminated. In case of indirect triples, it was, in addition to triples, we have the list of pointers to triples. So you see over here indirect triples, from the name it implies that we have something which is indirectly pointing to our triples. So you see over here this part is same as that of our triples. This whole thing is stored in some place where it is being pointed. So this we list of pointers to triples, see this 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, from 35 to 40 we have our list of pointers which are pointing to our triples. So this is our indirect triples. Okay. So in exam the questions may come, you may be given a statement and you may be asked what is the quadruple, triple and indirect triple representation for this particular statement. So first you have to generate the tree address code. From that tree address code you have to generate the quadruples, then triples, then indirect triples. So I think this video lecture is particularly for intermediate code generation is clear to you. So what we have studied in this intermediate code generation is why intermediate code is important, what are our different types of representation for intermediate code. Okay, so first we have learned what is syntax tree, what is DAG, okay, what is postfix notation, tree address code, and the different kinds of representation of our tree address code. Okay, so in the next video lecture, we'll continue with the rest of the chapters. Thank you.